Hello, hello, hello. Happy Sunday. Happy fun day. Okay. We are here for Married at First Sight Australia. We are here for Final Vows. We are here for the final reunion dinner party. We are here for it all. Welcome, JR. How has your week been?
This week's been very busy. Yeah, it's been okay. Starting to warm up now, so looking forward to that summer weather um, coming up. How was yours?
It's good. I've been pumping out content. I have a new line of content. My members have it now. Y'all can check it out after. It's called the Spark Plug. It's just about life tips, and right now it's, some of it dating, some of it gardening. Somebody asked me for gardening tips, so definitely there's that coming out. And I had yesterday I interviewed Danette from Love Is Blind Sweden, and that was amazing.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been going good. And I put out an APB for anyone from Poland who are of Polish descent that could kind of guide me, because Love Is Blind Poland is next in May.
Hmm.
Yeah. But otherwise, these people here been having our heads turning. And thank you to the members who came to our hangout spot and we watched it together. We watched the final vows together, JR. And let's just say it was amazing. And I will let you pick, because there's only 4 couples y'all made it to final vows. Who should we talk about first? And then we're going to talk about the dinner party. But members, we will watch the dinner party together on Thursday, and we will watch the Scandalous Confessions that's premiering tonight in Australia. We'll watch that on Thursday as well. So members, we'll catch up on the last 2 episodes. And next week will be our final live, y'all, since it'll be the end of everything. Where should we start on Final Vows, JR?
Let's start with the most stable couple in the experiment, Stella and Philip.
Stella and Philip decided to they had their final vows. I'm gonna have to take y'all off of there. These are photos from their final vows. And if you look at the center photo, Philip decided after 14 pages of vows that he was reading, he decided to propose, get on that one good knee and propose to Stella. She, of course, covered her face with her with her vows. She could not believe it. She was not expecting it. She was thoroughly shocked. And Philip took her out of there the way he took her out of the wedding. Here's pictures of that. He picked her up, scooped up his bride, scooped up his now legitimate fiance, because these aren't real marriages in this Love Is Blind Australia. And picked her up as he did on their first wedding day, and they walked off into the sunset. So Stella and Philip, definitely the love story we were expecting. And she didn't even say yes right away. He had to say, like, wait, 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 wait. You hugging me, you kissing me, but is that a yes? What were your thoughts on their final vows?
Yeah, so the most solid couple on the show. Um, I wasn't surprised that they made it to final vows. It was a nice surprise to see that he got down and proposed to her there, and they want to do real life together. I think the moment just took her by surprise too, which is why she got all carried away rather than answering straight away. But it was definitely going to be a yes. I mean, why wouldn't it be? They've been so solid throughout the experiment. He's had her back when some of the other castmates had turned on her and really tried to mess up their relationship a little bit. But they've largely remained out of the drama. Only being a part of the drama when Stella's actually being attacked by the other castmates. So yeah, like this was what I want to tune into this type of show for, to see a happy ending after all of that. It's a very difficult process, obviously. You're getting to know each other you've never met before. There's all types of chemistry and attraction issues, and do you bring your previous relationship baggage into your new relationship? Who's healed, who's not? Do you have the same sense of humor? Do you have the same tastes? There's so many different things. And this couple have managed to hit the jackpot against all the statistical odds. So yeah, congrats and big up to Philip and Stella.
Yes, definitely congratulations to them. Y'all, we are covering Final Vows, and then we're going to cover the reunion dinner party where everyone came back for. So this segment is only for final vows. So where should we go next then, JR? We have the lovely happy couple. We have an engagement. As they said at the dinner party, it only goes downhill from here.
Hmm. Yes, it does. Right. Let's go with Rachel and Stephen.
Okay, y'all. So Rachel and Steven, these are photos from their final vows. Is lovely purple. They're both looking so happy together. Top right, Stephen is saying his vows. Rachel does say her vows. And in the center, at the bottom, that is afterwards when they ask what goes on from here. And Stephen is like, hey, a whole lot of cuddling, canoodling, and living life together. So Rachel and Stephen left final vows, a solid couple, but they will be a long distance relationship. And Rachel said, hey, she got to move where he is because he has his business to handle out there. So they both said yes at final vows. What were your thoughts on Rachel and Steven's final vows?
Yeah. So I'm happy that they did decide to choose each other after making it so far. They started off as a very awkward pairing, both very insecure and not really open enough to trusting the process of meeting each other. Then I feel like as they got closer, some of the awkwardness disappeared, mostly from Rachel's side. She got comfortable and she knew what she wanted in the relationship. She was unproblematic. She was a very nice, warm, supportive person to the rest of the group as well. I think Stephen retained a lot of his awkward behaviors prior to the relationship and really struggled to reinvent himself or feed off of how Rachel was evolving in the relationship. So Stephen was always the concern for me here. But as I say, I'm glad they made it to the final vows. They did decide to choose each other, and it was just a question of whether they can work in real life. The long distance thing is a big problem because he works on boats, I think. So as someone that works on boats and in the marine side of things, he needs to be close to the water.
Yeah.
And if she relocates, then obviously she's going to have to try and find work and accommodate around his lifestyle. And I'm not really sure how that would pan out. But yeah, kudos to them for making it this far, though.
Yes, they did make it far. It was lovely. They both were a little bit scared about what the other person would choose to say or choose as far as vows. But yes, it was lovely. Their final vows, they really did hit it off. So, wish Stephen and Rachel the best. We will be talking about where they are now, y'all, when we talk about the final dinner party that was today. Where should we go next, JR?
Next, I think we should go to David and Alyssa.
Ooh, spicy. David and Alyssa, y'all. Y'all, this one threw us for a loop. We were watching it together in the hangout spot and we were gagged. Y'all, we were gagged. So what you see here are the photos of them. Lovely. This was a great scene, great setting. Why are we in the stables? But it was dressed, nicely. But David said his final vows, y'all. And if you see the top left there, David walks out. David walks out before Alyssa has a chance to say her final vows. He leaves. He said, I am done listening to you. All I have been doing is listening all season, and I ain't listening now. Bye. And Alyssa at the bottom, closer to the David picture, she stands there and reads her vows to an empty space and then throws the vows on the floor and then walks out. So, y'all, even though it was a beautiful setting, we were astonished by how David moved in this. What were your thoughts?
I wasn't astonished. I'll tell you why. Because I think towards the end of the the episodes, towards the end of the season, we started to see more about how Alyssa was behaving and treating David, the way she'd speak to him. We hadn't, it wasn't given such prominence throughout the rest of the season, but towards the end of the season, we started to see that. And then we had the mixer where you go and meet the people who were potentially going to be chosen for you. And she was very flirtatious and open to getting to know the guy that was her potential match if David wasn't selected. So that caused a problem, because when I got back to David, obviously he wasn't happy about that, and she didn't want to see why he would be upset with that. So they had spent 3 months together trying to form a relationship. Everything seemed to be going well, except for when the unseen footage came. And then I think that's what hurt him. I think the time that he'd spent, trying to listen to her, pour into her, not saying that she wore the pants, but basically I think he was saying he couldn't express himself. Every time he had a thought or feeling about something, then she would pretty much shut him down and mute him. So eventually it took its toll, plus the flirtatious behavior. And then they had the bust up where he took off the ring because he'd had it up to here, but he kept it. He just walked away. And as she decided that she would one up him, she walked down the corridor, took off her ring, threw it at him, which was disrespectful. And then from there, I don't know how they were going to ever come back from that.
I didn't know how they were going to get to final vows, but they did. I don't know what, well, he did come and he did talk to her and say, please don't take this ring off. And she's like, thanks. But yeah, we kind of saw a different side of Alyssa from homestays to now. Even now, she is still, trashing David to this point. And it's like, why? Why, babe? Why?
Why? Because she doesn't see his point of view. She only sees her own point of view, and she's very self-centered. That's one of the most revealing things about this particular couple. Alyssa has been very self-centered and expected David to almost serve her every need. And he couldn't do that. He realized he couldn't do that. It would be impossible without losing himself. And that's why he said it in the vows. It's like he's been trying to, trying to make her feel complete in the relationship, but it was just never enough.
Well, in his vows, he said he realized there's no version of me that could win with you. If I push, it's controlling. If I held back, it's disconnected. I can't constantly fight to be heard or to prove I'm enough. I've done a lot of listening and I'm done listening. I was like, daggone, David, daggone it. But hey, he said it. I'm not walking away because I don't love you. I'm walking away because loving you means losing myself.
Exactly. And despite hearing those vows, she still wasn't listening. All she was waiting to do was listen to respond with her own vows, which she had already made up her mind that they were done. She was going to leave him at the altar. That was her plan. So not only did he try to salvage the relationship by picking up her ring, going to the mixer and dinner party and apologizing, trying to get her to talk to him. She didn't want to talk. She didn't want to give him no time to try and save the relationship. At the mixer, she kept saying, no, can I just chill with the girls? She said that 2 or 3 times when he tried to approach her to try and have the conversation, to try and mend things. Then at the dinner party, it got to a point where, he turned to her and he said, listen, to the whole group, I love this girl. I really want to fight for what we have. We've been together 3 months. Let's, try and mend this. And she said thanks in a very, lazy, almost as if she just said it just because everyone was around. And then, she just didn't give him a chance to save the relationship. So they had a week of not talking before they actually got to the final vow stage. In that time, she never reached out to him. And he obviously was feeling wounded and said, you know, I'm just going to leave it. It's done. It's where it is now. So at the final vows, for her to expect that he's going to come groveling and apologizing and trying, but you weren't expecting that because you've already written that you weren't going to quit the relationship anyway. So I think Alyssa is really upset that he got there first and she didn't get to rub salt in the wound. She was at fault for why they broke up in the first place. And she didn't want to own the behaviors that caused it. And now she's expecting him to grovel. And so she can just dump him anyway. So she's just mad that she looked worse than she wanted to.
You're not going to listen to my vows?
And he wasn't even there. He was about to open the door and step through it.
You're not going to listen to my vows? I mean, I was like, girl, no, he's not going to listen to your vows. I was like, David, thank you. Thank you for this moment. I'm y'all have accused me of being male identified, but we all, I see the chat, we all understand David and what he has been through with Alyssa. From day one, as you said that to go to Africa, she tried to emasculate him from day one, from the wedding day. I am not marrying you unless you kneel and propose to me.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I'm glad he said no, but the way he said no and he walked out, and we hear her echoing, saying her vows while he's walking to the car. Yes, thank you for the moment, David.
And let's not forget, just like you said, when they first met, she said, I'm not going to say yes until you propose to me, right? He had to get down on one knee in front of her. What did he do last week at the mixer? Remember? He got down on one knee and put the ring back on. He said, listen, I want to put this ring back on your finger and, let's work on it and this, that, the other. He really tried to appease her even then, and she rejected him. So at that point, there's nothing else he can do. Listen, David, he did the right thing and he stands on it as well. And when she was saying, are you not going to listen to my vows? He should have just said, you know what? I'll watch it back when I'm watching, when the show airs, I'll watch your vows back.
Him not saying a daggone thing was the best move. Not looking back when she said that. Oh my God, that was epic moments. Epic moments.
It was epic. The problem is though, now she's trying to play the victim in the situation, saying that he ghosted her. That's how she's trying to portray it now.
But we know better, and Australia knows better. They are not falling for the Alyssa foolishness.
Of course, but she's banking on the fact that some people might. Because
she is.
Big, tall, stocky David, he didn't want to sit there and be humiliated at the final vows when she reads out her reasons for leaving. So she's going to make a big play on it and try and play the victim.
Yeah,
I did nothing wrong. Yeah, you did.
I have not seen Australia have her back at all.
Nah,
as a matter of fact, they are roasting her because she's back with her ex, and they believe she was with her ex the entire time. They are roasting her.
Oh well.
And every time she says something mean about David, they're like, David hasn't said anything mean about you. Why are you acting like this? So David is making memes. He hanging out with the fellas. He's in the Pink Pillow posse. Okay. He, Scott, Elliot from the last time. And y'all don't forget, there's a second married or Married at Second Sight season that's coming between the UK and Australia, where previous people from Married at First Sight get a second chance to marry at first sight across continents. That's coming. I don't know exactly when, but we will be here for it. Okay. We'll be here for it. I wonder if David gonna sign up, since it's him, Elliot, and Scott always together. I wonder if they're gonna sign up.
No, man, he might be too scarred from this experience. David.
Just might. He might be. He just might be. So there's only one place to go after these two.
Mm-hmm.
we're going, we have a place out here in California called the Redwood area, where we have redwood trees where they are as tall as mountains. And that's where they sent Beck and Danny, y'all. Here are photos from their final vows. You see those trees? I know they're not redwoods. I know they're not redwoods in Australia, but definitely it's a beautiful scene with the wildflowers and everything. I know they put those wildflowers there, looking at everything. But y'all, Beck came there and she chose Danny while Danny is constantly blinking like he's doing Morse code into the camera. Help me, save me, I'm trapped. Um, but Danny says, yeah, people have several soulmates, and you are my soulmate, Beck, but you are a soulmate as a friend and not as a lover. So Danny said no. Beck, you see her pull back there in that photo on the bottom left. She was stunned. She was shocked. She ended up crying on that log in the center there. And Danny went over and talked to the producers. And after Danny talked to the producers, Danny was like, if she was behaving like this, taking it like a champ and, demure and mindful, maybe it could work out with me and this girl. If she was mean to him, it would have been easier, but she was not mean to him. And he took it kind of hard. So he didn't say he's going to change his mind, but he said it may have worked out between them. What were your thoughts on these final vows? Beck chose Danny, and Danny chose to say no.
Yeah. So Beck, obviously devastated. She feels like the rug's been pulled from under her. She did try to get some type of reassurance from him prior to the final vows to see if he was on the same page. And apparently he did say he can't wait to say those 3 magical words to her. And they weren't the 3 magical words that she was expecting. It was more like, Beck, go bye-bye. Those were the 3. So yeah, like I feel like Danny did lead her on to some degree, because as crazy and as wild as Beck has been with her insecurities, her accusations, her, always starting trouble, trying to be at the center of every single piece of dysfunction with the couples. Danny sat there, and as embarrassed as he was, he took it. He did say to her a few times, but in a very low voice, and sometimes when people weren't around, stop embarrassing me, or I don't want to be near you right now. This is crazy. And she just kept going on and on. Like, she just had a point to prove every single episode. If it isn't with Gia, then she's going after Stella. If it isn't Stella, then she's going after Alyssa. She was just going after anyone that she felt threatened by or felt made her insecure. And she wanted Danny to still stick with her through all of the fires that she was starting. So Danny, despite leading her on and giving her false hope, I do think he made the right choice. I just feel like he should have done it a long time ago and not even made it to final vows. The problem with that, though, is if one person says leave and the other person says stay, then you have to stay. So, and that would have been even harder for Danny, because if he had said leave, especially multiple times, and she'd said stay, she would have been on him. I'm not going to say manipulate, but I'll say guilt trip. Why are you hurting me like this? What is wrong? Why don't you want to be? And it would be constant. And he's seen how she goes off on everybody else. He just doesn't want to be the focal point of her anger. So I think he just tried to get a good guy edit, thinking he was going to, be the guy that stays the course, sees it through, makes the decision at the end to walk away. And he doesn't seem that much of a bad guy.
Yeah, he was distracting me with all the blinking. I had to rewatch that again, because
that's Morse code. That's Morse code. He was sending those Morse code signals with his eyes.
I said that.
Saying he's in trouble. Every day he's in trouble. Those blinks is like, help. He's like, you're trying to tell you. I'm trapped. I'm so confused. I'm like a man in a cage.
Free Cheetah the anaconda. That's what it said.
And did you notice the blinking became more consistent and frequent after they slept together the first time?
Oh, heck yeah. After he was gazing out, traumatized out the
Yeah.
window,
I
he was
think
blinking a whole lot
after
more.
every intimate encounter, he blinked more. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly. Because she was becoming even more smitten. And
Right.
because he's becoming even more smitten, he's finding it difficult to, keep it real with her. Yeah, you might be a fun girl and a cool girl when you're not angry, but the problem is you're angry most of the time. So I don't think
Right.
you're the right person for me.
And the thing is that he's seeing how she acts with other people, and he's waiting for it to pop off on him. Because if you're gonna pop off on Gia and all these other people, I'm waiting for my turn. So yes, she's in love, and in love means that she gonna keep, some stuff under wraps and act, in a certain manner. But again, to go to Africa says she often behaved on the show like she belonged in the woods among the other wildlife. Girl, is that why they chose that setting for her?
Yes, and she probably scared off all the wildlife that were there too. But I think I wouldn't even. I don't believe that Beck truly loved Danny like that. I think
No.
she loved the idea of leaving there with somebody.
Yes.
And it could have been Danny or anybody else. I don't think it's specifically Danny that she loved and cared about. It
Right.
was someone that would put up with her erratic behavior and still stay the course.
Exactly.
That's what I think you're looking for.
So y'all, let's move on to the dinner party. Y'all, just to remind you, these are all the people that were a part of the show. Everyone came back. Everyone in blue from Gia and Scott didn't make it to Final Vows. Everyone in blue didn't make it to Final Vows, or they left in the order in which they left, right there with Scott and Gia being the last ones, okay? Everybody came for this final dinner party. Everyone showed up. Not everyone showed out, though, okay? So let's capture this, and I'm going to take them off the screen for a little bit so we can have our chat, and I can have the comments here. Let's start with Stella and Philip. It's been 1 month since the experiment, and then they're having this dinner party, y'all. And Stella and Philip are still together. They are still engaged. Okay. So that is wonderful. They are going to show up with her engagement ring on and see if anybody notices. They didn't at first. Stephen and Rachel. Do you want to tell them about Stephen and Rachel?
Stephen and Rachel sadly parted ways, I think 3 weeks after the Final Vows and a week before
last week.
the reunion. Yeah. So basically, the long distance thing wasn't really the thing that ended them. It was more the fact that Rachel noticed Stephen was beginning to say I more rather than we, and they're supposed to be doing this relationship thing in real life now. So that brought back some feelings of, kind of like an insecurity. Maybe he's trying to distance himself. He's pulling away. And then the thing is, on their final session with the experts, they asked Rachel what her biggest fear was. And her biggest fear was that if they went off into the real world as a couple, he would, because of the long distance, he would start going back to thinking and positioning himself as a single guy again. And she was really afraid of that. And that's unfortunately what ended up happening.
Right. So, they're saying that Brooke and Chris was not there. I don't think Chris was there.
No, they didn't need to be there.
Right. They didn't need to be there. That wasn't
No.
Chris. I believe you're thinking that was Sam in green and white. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, but no. Chris was the one that was with Brooke, right?
Right. But I'm thinking who was there in green and white? I think Sam, not Sam. Wait a minute. There are two Chris's, y'all. There are two Chris's. Let me put this banner back up. Sorry. This banner back up. There are two Chris's. Yes, there were two Chris's. There's Chris that was with Sam, and there's Chris that was with Brooke. The Chris that was with Brooke, the second couple up here, that Chris and Brooke were not there. Okay.
Nope.
But the second Chris in the corner over here with Sam, that Chris was there. Daggone
Yeah.
it. I need y'all not to be picking
But-
people with the same name.
But so let's just give a brief recap as to why Brooke and Chris weren't there. The
Go
reason
ahead.
why they weren't there is because Brooke's appalling appearance on the show actually resulted in a lot of bad feedback for her. So at being a model and wanting to have an aspiring career, probably using the show as a platform, it backfired. Then it panned out that during the show, she was going back to spending time with her ex and whatnot. And then shortly after her implosion at one of the dinner parties, she left the show, left Chris sitting there, not knowing what was happening. And she went back and struck out. Then struck up a relationship back with the ex-boyfriend, I think, and got pregnant or found out she was pregnant pretty quickly. So that relationship is over. There's no need for her to come back to the show because she's now expecting a child with her ex-boyfriend. And then obviously if she's not coming back, then bringing Chris back wouldn't make any sense because his bride's not there. And behind the scenes, he had done something that made the producers feel like he wasn't invited anyway. He wasn't welcome to come back.
Right. And I understand that. Let's talk about it, that you forgot about Brooks, Chris. That's why I had the roster, because I'll forget about them too. I'll forget about the other Steven that was with Rebecca. I would have forget about them too if I didn't have that roster and kept that there, because that's why I don't delete them. Now, we see Alyssa getting ready, and she was shocked and did not expect David to be so disrespectful. And she is expecting an apology from David tonight. And if he does not apologize, he will hear about it from her. David's getting ready, saying, the only thing I regret is not walking away faster. I should have Usain bolted and sprinted out of there. He is not there for going in on her or with her. And he will walk out if that's the type of conversation she wants to have. He's done listening because he listened to her all experiment. What did you think when they were getting ready?
Yeah, so Alyssa is feeling like she has a point to prove. She wants to settle the score. As we said, despite her in her vows, she was going to leave him anyway. She's angry that not only did he get there first, but now she's trying to say, well, he walked away, trying to frame it as if he ghosted her and didn't give her the opportunity to speak. In actual fact, what David did was stand up for himself. He'd pleaded with her. He was just a little bit short from begging her to try and salvage the relationship. She was not interested. She was saying things like, I've wasted 3 months. I can't be with someone who doesn't see me the way that I want to be seen, type thing. And tried to play it off as he's just insecure and she's just very bubbly and sociable and this, that, the other. No, she really tried to frame it so that he would be the villain. And I think David woke up by himself and realized, you know what? I did everything I could for this woman. She didn't want to save it. I'm done now too. And I'm going to stand on business, stand on it. Any attempts to argue, I'm out. If she wants to have a civil conversation, we can have a conversation, but it's not going to lead to a resolution. Now,
someone else who walked away happy and, is coming back happy. He walked away broken up, but he's back happy, back being himself, is Scott. Scott says he is going into the dinner party happy because he did nothing wrong. He hopes that he and Gia can get along and have like a good laugh, but he is here to be civil because he's moved on. Gia, meanwhile, says she is happy and healed, and she doesn't give a ish about Scott, and she wants a man who will chase her. Now, y'all, we're going to see in this dinner party, she ain't healed. All she doing is digging her claws in a little bit further because she was the catalyst to a whole bunch of mess at that table. So what did you think about Scott and Gia before they got there?
Yeah, I was thinking, what did I miss? Because Gia, it's only been a month. How are you talking about you've healed? We've seen you orchestrate and puppet master your way through the whole season. We've seen you buddy up with people, then throw them under the bus, then go and make alliances with people that you were beefing with, then go back to who you were friends with before. When, you know, like so many different things. And again, it's similar to Danny and Beck's situation. Scott is there and he's watching all of this and he's standing by her. But sooner or later, you must realize, Scott, like, this isn't the type of person that's going to give you a stable relationship. But obviously, what actually broke them apart was Gia's behavior with the potential match that would have been Scott's replacement. Yes. It was by far the worst of the ladies, of any of the castmates, actually. She said she would be done in a week. And when Scott saw that, that's when his heart broke, because it really showed that her intention was to break up with him all along and just make it to the end of the show. So he did the right thing by cutting it off before they got to Final Vows. And again, she was butthurt about that. She really thought that she could continue to manipulate her way to the Final Vows and possibly say no to him at the altar. We don't know, but I don't think there was genuine feeling there. I think he was just a puppet. She admitted that she was interested in guys that make more money than him. She trashed his apartment. Didn't think he was up to standard, even though he's got multiple businesses and makes millions. So I don't think she was feeling him. Now, I do think Scott did the right thing, and I do think he stood up for himself, didn't allow himself to get manipulated. My only thing was, why are you hugging her? Why are you going to greet her with a hug when you see her come into the room? Or when, I think he got there before she did. Why are you going to greet him?
He said he wants to be civil. That's being civil.
No, you can just dap it up with her, because she probably find a way to manipulate that hug into something else.
Yeah, she gonna say he sniffed my hair. Did you see that? He sniffed my hair.
He wants me. No, he doesn't.
So y'all, all the participants came to the dinner party. They walk in one by one. They left Danny for last, y'all. There's a reason why they left Danny for last. But let's get to this. Alyssa and David. Alyssa calls David a coward and a little boy. David said he's not going to entertain this.
Yep.
He basically was like, I ain't talking to you. We ain't talking about this. Bye, Felicia. That's what David said. I ain't entertaining. How you call him a coward and a little boy here?
And you expect him to apologize after you said that too. More emasculation. And this is and this is what I think he was trying to get to the point of. There were moments where she was saying things to him that were very demeaning and disrespectful. And he tried to pass it off as, okay, well, we're still getting to know each other. Or maybe it's just a blip and she'll apologize and we can move on. But eventually, when these things start to mount up and he's hearing all these type of comments, you're weak and you're a little boy and your ego and just attacking him and his character, no guy's going to feel comfortable with that. So Alyssa, again, is delusional because she cannot see how her words impact the guy that she's with. I think she thinks she's like a princess, where just because she's halfway pretty, guys are going to fall at her feet and just be looking to apologize even when they're not at fault for what the problem is. No, sometimes you need to humble yourself, Alyssa, and apologize when you realize that, or when the person's expressed to you that you've hurt them. And she is incapable of doing it. She's incapable of seeing it. But even more troubling was Alyssa and Beck were the first to arrive at the mixer. Beck has been digging up dirt and trying to crush Alyssa the entire show. But they're now fake friends, because this is what these particular cast of ladies do. They hate each other, but they'll also ally with each other when they feel like they can go at someone and they have a common enemy, right? So Beck and Alyssa are in the mixer first, and then they're all, oh, so what happened with you, babe? Oh, how did it go? Oh, you made it to Final Vows. Oh my gosh. And it's like this fake friends thing. And then it seems that they're both trying to unite because they both got jilted at the Final Vows. So now they can say, oh yeah, these two men, they are dogs, they're rotten, they're wrong ones. Look, they dumped us both, you know. And unfortunately, as you said, not only Australia, but we've watched it. You're in the States, I'm in the UK. We've all seen what really transpired. And I would argue that both guys had a legitimate case to say no to both of these particular brides. And they just can't swallow it. They just can't handle it.
That's true. They had a legitimate reason. And I'll save that other part for dinner, what Alyssa said about David. But as you said, Beck and Alyssa are sitting there, and Beck tells Alyssa that Steph, if y'all remember, let me put the pictures up again so y'all could kind of see. Steph, who was there with Tyson right here, that Steph was messaging Danny. They have spoken, and that Steph sent Danny a bikini photo and some other photos. Steph was on vacation. Now, Steph knows this is coming. Steph said this is a nothing burger. Okay. She and Danny are in the same industry. When the whole show was finished, she reached out to him. They talked, back and forth. They had, he left a voice note. She sent the bikini pics. He sent some heart emojis. And Beck, when Steph comes, Beck tells Steph she ain't cool with it. She don't like it. And Steph is like, I don't care if Beck is cool with it. But Steph just sat there and just like, until we got to the dinner party. But Tyson is also there. Y'all remember Tyson, Mr. Masculine. He thinks that Stephanie has probably been dating soft men since she was with him because, his masculine energy was just too much for her. And he thinks that Steph misses him. So let's get into the Danny, Beck, and Steph whole situation. Because when Danny walked in, he did not know it was a firing storm.
No. So there's a couple of things. First of all, Beck, you're not with Danny anymore at this point. It was over. It's finished. He left you at the final vows. He said no. He's free after that. As devastated as you are, you must look back and reflect on the reasons why. Listen to what he said. And then when you've watched back your own appearance on this show, you should be able to figure out why he said no, right? So what she's done is she's trying to instigate even more drama by clinging on to this notion that Danny still hurts. Where I can slightly give her some leeway is it is another bride that was on the show. So maybe it's a bit too close to him, but they were never friends. They were never buddies, but that doesn't matter. The fact is you've both been at these mixes. You've both been, and even though Steph was only there for a short time because her relationship fizzled out in like 2 weeks, but you're all in this group setting. So you're talking and you're sharing things and you're watching someone go off on someone and you're aligning with this person and, you're sitting down in the couple's couches. So there is a level of camaraderie there. And I think what Beck's trying to do is overplay the level of loyalty that Steph should have to her because you were never friends. And at the end of the day, Steph was single and so was Danny. So any messages that transpire between them, they're none of your business, Beck. That you're not in a relationship no more. No matter what you think or feel, he can do what he wants and so can you. You're just mad that there was a potential for him to move on much quicker than you would have liked him to.
And the thing is, Stephanie did show Beck her phone to try and be full transparency. There's nothing going on with Danny and I. We just chitty chat. Danny, when Beck brought it up at the dinner table, Danny's like, Philip, don't I send you heart emojis? He's like, yes. Luke, don't I send you heart emojis? They're like, yes. He's like, I'm not trying to sleep with everybody that I send heart emojis because he sent heart emojis to her. Then Beck starts saying, you deleted messages. I know y'all did. Y'all trying to hide stuff from me. And then Beck went into her usual vile, wild self, left the table stunned. And while she is trying to point out that Danny and Steph, who were single at the time, were doing something nefarious, she ended up looking worse than anyone because she went to her vile behavior, calling them names, y'all, that they even bleeped out for Australia television.
Listen, she was so angry, she started talking in pirate. She was talking about you scurvy sea dog. I was like, that's how I know she's unhinged and she's flipped her lid. I've never heard someone called a scurvy sea dog. That's something I'd associate with pirate ship, you know? But yeah, she just went crazy, went ballistic. And I think, you know, Steph, you didn't even need to show the messages and the pictures. I get why you might have did it because you didn't want, you know, you thought you're being transparent and you thought if you didn't do it, then Beck might turn on you. And Beck seems to have a very domineering personality. It's very mean spirited, but it's very domineering. She's always got something to say. And it's not like little chirping either. She likes to berate people. So I can see why Steph might say, you know what, let me just show her that it's nothing. But what you showed her was you in a bikini and heart emojis from Danny. That is enough to trigger insecurities in Beck. And she's going to suspect that something was going on, even if there wasn't.
Beck also said that, y'all, she cooked, she cleaned, and she paid for everything. She said she paid for everything. Do I believe her? Do y'all believe Beck that she paid for everything?
Yeah, I think she inherited that house, to be honest. I don't think she actually bought that house.
No, I'm saying she paid for everything in the experiment with her and Danny.
That's what I'm saying. Like the house, like what she's been hanging her hat on is she lives in this apparently $3 million apartment or something like that. So she's trying to give the impression. Yeah, she used to before she got evicted because of her actions on this show, Beck. But so I'm trying to act as unhinged as she is, but I can't do it. She did try to throw that out there as a way to say, you know, I paid for everything, I did everything. Who knows?
He's supposed to be an upstanding bloke. Isn't an upstanding bloke pay for some things?
Yeah, but again, I think she was doing that to try and win his affections, not out of genuine I want to take care of you and I'm the breadwinner and I'm the provider and you are my, you know. I don't think it was that. I think it was just to try and do everything possible to try and win him over because she's acted so poorly, and she, you know, and he had the opportunity to say I'm walking away based on how much drama she caused. Every single week he had a different reason to say it's not going to work. So I think the other thing that you did raise, which is valid, is that Danny and Steph both work in real estate. They're both real estate developers or something like that. So networking and coming together and doing business in future, that's one thing. Why are you sending in bikini pics though? What has that got to do with selling properties?
Y'all, I just created a poll. I'm not sure if y'all can see it. I created a poll. Oh, start and show poll. Okay. There's a poll. Y'all see it there. Put the number that you believe it is in the comment section. So the question is, did Beck pay for everything while with Danny? Type a 1 in the comment section if you agree and think yes. Type 2 if you think no, and that will register while the poll is going. So y'all, thank you so much. This is something new with StreamYard. So we'll try our polls. There'll be another poll. So yes, type 1 if you think yes, type 2 if you think no in the comment section.
Unfortunately, Beck, money can't buy love. Sometimes.
Well, not in this time. Not in this time. It definitely ain't buying it this time.
You should have kept your proof of purchase. She should have kept the receipt and everything. If she bought everything, go and claim it back.
You're right. Where's the proof of purchase, Beck? Where's the proof of purchase?
Where's the receipt? Where's the receipts? All season long, you guys have been talking about receipts. Beck, you better kept your receipts. You better have.
See, I'm thinking, you know, oh, you didn't have the opportunity to see enough evidence. That's okay. That's okay. I just thought since Danny keeps saying upstanding bloke, upstanding guy, as a gentleman, he kept saying that. I don't know if I believe that she paid for everything.
I don't know, but he didn't refute it. To me, Danny is trying to be.
He wasn't there to refute it.
But I'm sure that would have got back to him as well. Like, come on. The way that Bet goes after people, I'm not surprised if she didn't repeat it and we just didn't see the footage. But that would be another reason why to leave. Why you buying everything and taking the power away from him to provide for you? It's another form of emasculation. If he hasn't asked you to provide for these things and said, listen, I need help, or can you buy me this? Can you buy me? Why are you trying to remove that level of provision from him? I think Danny is a Conor McGregor wannabe, to be honest. I think he used the show and like I said, he tried to get a good edit and come across gentlemanly, when in reality, you kind of strung her on. You knew she was crazy, and you decided to stay and make it to the end. And you did the right thing by leaving. But like I said, leave earlier, dude.
He's probably looking for to be on GQ magazine, or his suits and lapel pin collection are astounding. They are really, really good,
Or maybe a stunt double for Conor McGregor, if Conor McGregor goes into movies.
They do call him Timu Colin McGregor, like Brooke called him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. Thank you all so much for voting. Again, put the number in the comment section as to what you wish to vote, and it will register. I'll close it in a few minutes because and hit the like button one good time, please. This is streaming on both of our platforms here on YouTube, so please make sure you hit that like button one good time. So Danny turned it around on Beck and said, you've been messaging the guys too. So am I supposed to feel some kind of way? It's okay if you message the guys. And she's like, yeah, I messaged Luke and that's your pal. And I'm like, it sounded double standard-ish. But is it because no bikini pics?
No swimming trunks pics? Yeah. And Tiffany Tech 007 made a good point. He wasn't trying to invest anything in Beck. Absolutely not. Why? If he's in real estate, he can understand a good investment and a bad investment. Beck equals bad investment. No return of investment.
Okay.
No ROI on Beck. Sorry.
Okay. Well, you know what? I am going to stop the poll. Thank you all so much for voting. And if I so feel like it, I'll put out another poll. But we're coming down to the end. Now, here's the thing. Gia was in rare form. Remember, she said she's healed, y'all, and she ain't in this. Well, Gia says, Tyson, come sit a little bit closer, Tyson. And and Gia fed Tyson the information about Steph, and that's how everything popped off. Why Tyson was like, oh, Steph sending photos to Danny, huh? That was this going on during the experiment. Gia lit the match and set it all off because she knew that Tyson was going to say something. Tyson is also the person who set it off about Alyssa and David. Like, David, why'd you walk away from Alyssa? Why didn't you listen to Alyssa when she said her vows? Why didn't you stay there, bloke? And Alyssa doesn't want David to be heard at the dinner table and actually told David that his walking away was spitting in her face. I thought that was a bit much. What did you think about that?
Yeah. And the thing is, she used that term, you spat in my face, you were spitting in my face. She used it 2 or 3 times during the mixer and at the dinner table. Now, Tyson, I'll just say a quick something about Tyson. Tyson is a very insecure guy. There's something about his affect. He is not this confident dude that he thinks he is. So what he's done is he's latched onto these social media tropes about masculinity and about all these other things. And he said, right, that's what I believe. That happened to me. I'm going to try and live like those guys. But you can see in his posture and his affect, he ain't nothing like that. Anyway, so I think Gia, again, master manipulator, she decides to say, you know what? Who haven't I manipulated so far? There's Tyson, and he's got this toxic masculinity aspect about him. Let me go tell him what his former wife was doing and see how he pops off. Now, Tyson, prior to this, was saying, I don't care about my ex. It didn't work. I ain't trying to be back with her. I don't care what she does. I've moved on. She's moved on. Who cares? All of a sudden now, Tyson manipulative. G has said a few words in your ears, and now you want to make an announcement at the dinner table and out people. So it was uncalled for. Tyson, you're not that dude. Like, don't get involved in the mess. It's already been GR and Beck. You've just proven that you can be manipulated easily by a woman. And she did it with no effort. There is no romantic attachment, no transactional relationship. There's nothing there. And she just whispered a few words in your ears and made you come out of your own comfort zone and your own personality. So yeah, so Tyson in the bin. But with regards to what was actually now transpiring as a result of what Tyson said, you know, I think David handled it well. He's just been swatting down Alyssa, swatting down anybody that tries to. And it wasn't like there was lots of people. I think most of the group aligned with David on this. And Gia and Beck were and Brooke were calling out Alyssa for being fake the whole time anyway. So I think you know, after hearing Alyssa's side of the story, I don't think it swayed the crowd of public opinion. So David was doing good work to just basically stand on his ground, not waver in what he's saying. He wasn't rude, he wasn't disrespectful. He was very clear, very straightforward, very blunt. I'm not here to play games. I wanted to have this relationship with this particular woman. I still love her and everything, but guess what? She didn't want to give me my voice. She didn't want to listen to me. It was all about her. And she's too self-centered to be in a relationship. That's what David was saying. Tyson trying to make light of that and try and turn it into, oh, you're not a man if you didn't stand there and listen to her vows. Tyson, you walked out of the show in a couple's therapy session with the experts. You got up and said, no, I can't do this no more. I quit. And he got up and walked out and we never saw him again. So he can't be telling anybody how to behave when it comes to taking criticism. He shut down all of the lady experts, all of the female experts that had anything to say about his relationship and would only listen to John. That's how warped he is. So yeah, I wouldn't be taking lectures from Tyson on anything.
On anything. And as Tiffany Tech says here, Alyssa took me out when she said he spat in her face instead of saying it felt like he spat in my face. The lady is trouble. Yeah. David did well. It could have gotten him in serious trouble because you saw the table. For those of you who saw the show, and for members, we'll be in our hangout spot on Thursday and we'll watch this dinner party together. Everybody looked and had a moment of David spat in her face until he opened up and said, no, I just walked away.
Exactly. Because what she could have said is, it felt like a slap in the face for you to do me how you did me. That's more appropriate language. But what she tried to do is intentionally villainize him as a way to get back at him for embarrassing her by walking out and not letting her speak. Sometimes I feel like, you know, Alyssa and ladies like her want to get the final word in. And if you beat them to the punch and leave them without them getting their say, then it can often create a situation where now they want to save face. So they'll manifest the story and embellish it to try and make the person that, you know, a David in the situation look worse. So yeah, David, you dodged a major bullet, dude. I'm so glad that she unraveled before Final Vows enough for you to see that it wasn't going to work.
Right. She didn't get to have her last word. She didn't get to perform, but who did perform at this dinner party was Beck. And Danny had his last word in the camera saying that Beck is not wife material. She has disgusting behavior. Remember, she said some vile words about him and Steph, even though they're broken up and everybody's single and can mingle. But he says after tonight, he wants nothing to do with her. And he's not going to show up at the final event, which is the final couch session, y'all. That's tomorrow night in Australia. And we'll also watch that, members. And that's where they show us some shocking footage. I'm wondering if there was a cheating scandal we never saw, because Australia usually has a cheating scandal. But Danny said he's not going to show up for this final event. Talk to my lawyer. Talk to my lawyer. Also, let's end on a more positive note. Before the dinner, Rachel and Stephen had a chance to speak. They had a chance to talk. It gave me two people who want something, they want the relationship, but just don't know how to navigate it to not only make it work, but to also meet the needs of the other person. So Stephen did bring his ring to the dinner party. He says, I have it, it's in my pocket. Rachel, I'm not sure if we made the right decision in breaking up. She didn't refute the we because she was telling us that he broke up with her. But he said, I don't know if we made the right decision. And she said, she was wearing her ring and Stephen placed his ring back on his hand. So they're going to try to make this work. But we shall see if it's going to be smooth sailing or if it's rough seas. What were your thoughts on that moment with Stephen and Rachel?
Yeah, so very important, the terminology. Whereas she had tried to paint the picture that he had ended things, because he didn't see a future with her in it, and he had gone back to his life back in wherever it is, and it didn't sound like he was including her in anything. That's the narrative that she portrayed. And then when he said, I think we were hasty in making the decision and this and the other, she didn't challenge it. She didn't say, oh, it was all you. I was down for you the whole time and you ended things. So that made me be like, so what really happened? Maybe she went along with it because she just didn't want to put up a fight and seem desperate, because obviously she had prior insecurities about being chosen, about being selected. And also, I think it's kind of crazy because Stephen, as I said, he's very awkward. He's kind of like a 40-year-old virgin type dude. For me, I don't see him being callous enough to just end things for no reason. And his level of insecurity to me would be like, I finally found a girlfriend. I don't want to lose her. I've opened up all this time. I've warmed to her. I may not find another. It may take me another 10, 11 years to find another girl. Because remember, he'd been out of a relationship. He hadn't had one in like 11 years or something like that. So, girls are not like buses for this guy. Then, you don't lose one and then two show up. He has to wait a decade. So it doesn't make it, I don't understand why he would just suddenly cut her off like that. It must be something else that we didn't see. Or to me, it might have been a mutual thing. And then both of them didn't know how to say, fight for it or say, no, listen, we can work this out. I think if either one of them had said, let's try and work this out, then maybe both of them would have just agreed to try and work it out.
Right. It's like, why break up a week before this dinner party? I don't get it. I see both of them as like riding a wave and just not creating a ripple. It's like, okay, we'll get through this and I may break up with you after everything. But I do see, Munira, I do see your comment that, Stephen is leading Rachel on and has no real plan. I think he doesn't want to be grilled by the experts, so he plans to stay with her for now and leave her after the show. Now, they are showing up on social media together, going to events together with Stella and Philip. So they are out here on Australian social media acting and behaving as a couple, but we won't know until after the next episode. But yeah, he could be riding the wave until it's over. But the two of them I see as conflict avoidant. I'm not diagnosing anyone with no personality stuff here, but they both don't seem like the type to break up. It seems like they're waiting on the other person to break up with them, and they'll be like, "Oh, okay, you know what? It was a pleasure being with you. It was wonderful." But I don't see either of them initiating a breakup. Maybe Rachel more so, because remember, she moved out when he wouldn't kiss her that time. But I don't see Stephen saying, yeah, Rachel, yeah, this is over. I don't see that from what we saw, but we do realize this is an edited, produced show.
Yeah, I think Stephen's been a slow burner. He's been slow to wake up, slow to realize the feeling, slow to realize that he's actually in a relationship, slow to adapt to it, the whole time. So I just don't see him having this cutthroat. Okay, you know what? I'm done. You know, I don't see him walking away. Like I said, it's going to be too hard for him to find a girlfriend after this. So, you know, because based
You
on
trying to say
previous,
his DMs are gonna be dry?
no comment about DMs, but I'm just saying, you know, you're not going to see Steph send him bikini pictures and be trying to, you know, but yeah, you know, this couple, I just think they. I'm not. I wouldn't. You know, I can't diagnose anyone. I'm not a psychologist or anything like that. Don't pretend to be. But I think because they both come from a background of not feeling confident about finding a partner, I think that's one of the things that's kind of helped them bond together as well. So yeah, who knows what happens? So let's see on the final couch.
Yeah, let's see on the final couch. I do hope that it works out for them. I think if they are in more closer proximity to each other, you know, if Rachel definitely is closer to where he is, I think he can find the time. And he has been finding the time according to social media. As I said, y'all, from what they can share, they have been going out together. They have been going to dinners and spending a lot more time to, you know, but yes, Tiffany, I do get that. If Steven wanted to be with her, and not lose her, he would find a way. He would. He would. Whatever you want, you will find the time and the way to make it work. But again, some people don't know how to. And he may be thinking he's finding the time, and video calls may be good enough for him, but it may not be good enough for his partner. These
Mm,
two, I think, are just speaking a different language. They think they're speaking to each other, but it's not translating well in the relationship. They can make it work. They totally can, as long as they're being genuine with each other. But I'm very hopeful for Rachel and Steven. I don't know if they're still together. Social media is trying to paint that picture. Whether he's breadcrumbing her or not, I don't know. But you know, Steven and them fishermen, they love breadcrumbs. They'll bring the ducks and all the other fish to the surface. And speaking of that, where's the fish? I heard not near about that fish that they got early on in the relationship. We need to know what happened to that fish. That's all I'm saying, Steven.
well, I think the main problem that people will have with Steven watching the show is that he's not assertive. And again, because he doesn't have that assertive presence, then you know you would definitely come to the conclusion that, oh, he's just breadcrumbing her, he's just leading her on, he's just trying to be nice, he doesn't know how to let her down, doesn't want to deal with the fallout when she starts crying and this, that, the other. We've seen that throughout the season, evidence that he is very conflict avoidant. He doesn't like the fact that she gets upset, teary-eyed and everything. And sometimes it takes for his brother, who is far more assertive, to suggest something, and then Stephen will be like, oh yeah, well, my brother said this, and that means it must be true. So yeah, you know, you can come to the conclusion that he's breadcrumbing. I just think personally, he's just not particularly a strong-minded, strong-willed person. And you know, I think it's a combination of him feeling like he's lucky to have even found someone on the show, and lucky to have someone in general that he's been waiting for a long time. And I think
Yes.
Rachel has an element of that as well.
Mhm.
So I do also share your point, Elsid. I think both of them come across as, if something happens and one person says, you know what, I'm gone, I'm walking out, the other person will be like, okay, you know, it's unfortunate, I get it, it's all right. Rather than try and, hey,
To work
like,
it
what
out.
happened? Tell me about it. This is just a minor. Like, we can move. You know, I don't think they both. I don't think they both share that strong confidence within themselves.
Right. And it has to start with him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not showing that. I did like the initiative of bringing the ring,
Yeah.
you know, for it to be open. But again, this is the difference. When David and Alyssa was having their issue, David came and he put the ring right back on Alyssa. Please, you know, don't take this off. I'm here with you. I'm here fighting for my relationship. Stephen is more asking the question, if you want to continue with me, did we make the right, you know, right decision? Stephen, it would have been easier to understand if you said, hey, I want to make this work. It is going to be a challenge. Let's get over this first hurdle. I'm putting back on my ring and I'm not taking it off. That's more assertive than questioning.
Yeah. But as we saw, David is far more assertive than Stephen could ever be. So two different personalities. And also the brides that they're doing it for. Alyssa's a very strong personality. Rachel is more warm-hearted at least, and not as self-centered.
Yes. Understood. But tomorrow night, Australia shows the final couch session. That's where they will show us unseen footage. Everybody's going to be in there on the couches, except Danny said he's not going to be there. We'll see. And we apparently see some shocking footage, never before seen footage. So we are here back one more time next week. We will be here covering it all. Members, we will be in our hangout spot. For those of you who are not members, we do watch these shows and others together in a hangout spot away from YouTube. And it's a way for you to just click a link that I'll provide in the a member post and then join the room and we all watch it together. It does not infringe on any copyright issues. It's just like Teleparty where we used to watch movies a lot. So definitely members, probably 7 p.m. on Thursday, EST. We'll start with this dinner party that you missed all the fireworks, and we will watch this final couch session. So please, it's going to be a while. This was an hour and a half for this dinner party. We may have to skip a few things, a few flashbacks. But JR, let the people know where to find you.
You can find me on JRX TV on the IG. Also on YouTube, I'm Life is Reality. Reviewing TV shows like this on YouTube with El Cid and a few other collaborators when more shows come up that I like. But ultimately, like the video, share the video, tell your friends to tune in. You know, once you watch the episodes, or if you don't, like, come and check us out and we'll fill you in on what you missed. So definitely like, hype, and leave comments, and hopefully we can give some feedback on our opinions as well, if you like or dislike anything that we've said.
Right. We are here for y'all across the pond. He's in the UK, I'm in the US, but we love this show from Australia. And I always watched it, but didn't have anybody to collaborate. This is our second time going through an entire season together, and it's always wonderful. At 5 p.m. EST, y'all, I have unsolicited advices where I bring forth, it's come back, y'all. Since Love is Blind Sweden is done, please check out that interview that I had yesterday with Danette from the cast from Love is Blind Sweden. Since that is over, and my Sunday at 5 p.m., I said, let me bring back unsolicited advices where you, the audience, can give advice to people who've asked the internet for some advice. Tomorrow, Monday, is our Messy Member Monday. And members, since y'all said that I don't bring the heat enough, I ain't playing with y'all tomorrow night. Okay? I'm playing with y'all tomorrow night. And on Tuesdays, Trey and I are covering Game of Thrones. It will be season 2 this Tuesday. So if you are new to Game of Thrones or you like talking about it, we are definitely here for you to have the conversation and ask the question. Trey knows all about the books. I know some, but I know, most about the show. Okay? And there's a lot of other things coming in the works on this channel. So make sure you are subscribed. You have your notification bell on. And you are following us both on social media. Okay? Thank you so much, JR. I'll see you next week for our, I guess, last week of episodes. But as I always tell, go ahead.
Finally, 40 episodes. 40. Oh my goodness.
So it's about them, not about you trying to be done talking to me. Okay. Thank y'all so much for being here. And as I always say, I'll see you on the next one.